the real sky, the truth still burns. Ancient voices in the heavens turn as the raw rises where the stars align, restoring the wisdom lost in time. Two stars rose in the dawning light. Nikki and Abigail lies on the night, charting the heavens, the constellations true, not bound by illusion but by what's in view. But they whispered of summer, of gods in the flame, of Anana and Enki who called them by name. Through shadows of dogma they carried the spark, guided by starlight to rekindle the real sky, the truth still burns. Ancient voices in the heavens turn as their raw rises where the stars align, restoring the wisdom lost in time. Under the real sky, the truth still burns. Ancient voices in the heavens turn as their raw rises where the stars align, restoring the wisdom lost in time. Yeah. Maps redrawn where the cosmos spins through silence and science. Their song begins, no longer chained to the season's disguise. They brought back the truth in the watcher's eyes. The circle was broken, the truth made whole. With courage and reason they honored the soul for those who would seek what the ancients knew. The real sky speaks and the stars show the real sky, the truth still burns. Ancient voices in the heavens turn as their raw rises where the stars align, restoring the wisdom lost in time. Under the real sky, the truth still burns. Ancient voices in the heavens turn as their raw rises where the stars align, restoring the wisdom lost in time. Through cuneiform echoes and lunar signs, through Babylon's gates and forgotten lines, they lifted the veil with a steady hand. To see is reborn to reclaim the land. Under the real sky, the vision's clear, the sidereal call for all to hear. As I rising with radiant mind, truth reborn in the ancient light. Under the real sky, the truth still burns. Under the real sky, the truth still burns. Under the real sky, the truth still burns. Under the real sky, under the real sky,
Okay, I think we're here. We here? Everybody here?
I'm here. Made it.
Fantastic.
Can you hear me? Yeah?
Yeah, what was that? What was that sound?
Oh, that wasn't me, was it? Oh.
I don't know. I don't know. It's fine. It's gone. Whatever.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone, to another phenomenal, life-changing episode. I think this is episode 9 of the Sidereal Rising podcast. Today we're doing sex and astrology. I mean that we're talking about it. And we are here with our special guest, Michael Hartigan of One Sky Astrology. And obviously I'm here with Nikki, Revolution Astrology, and I myself, Abby Quinn of Sumerian Astrology. And all of us are from the International Sidereal Astrology Association. You can learn more about the organization and register for free for the workshop coming this Saturday. Hold on one second. There's a door situation in my house, and every time nobody wants to close it. Okay.
Yeah.
The other program used to like block out the background sounds, but you can hear like the baby mice squeaking when they're drinking milk and stuff. Like, so this one I got to be on top of it. So yes, in the video description link, there is a free registration for Sex and Astrology workshop, and that is going to be not so much a panel discussion, is an interactive conversation with everyone. So this is, as we will explore in this conversation, a topic that I don't think people know very much about. I think that we can speculate all day long, and we can make assertions, we can take guesses as to how something's going to behave. But this is an area where there is a lot of fear and shame and repression around the topic in general outside of astrology. So for you to get good, accurate information is really hard outside of, a strict, rigorous, anonymous study or poll, which we do plan to do sometime in the future. Maybe we'll get that going later this summer. But otherwise, we're going to do our very best here to get you as much information as possible. Nikki, Michael, do you guys want to start us off here with your expertise?
Expertise. I have much more of an observation to speak about, and I as a forever student of astrology, I've seen and watched a lot of different videos, and I've seen a lot of different astrologers say, well, this for sure are you know, signatures in the chart for, you know, same sex, or this is, you know, trans signatures. These are people who are saying that these are for sure signatures, and I doubt it. I highly doubt it. You have people born, yeah, at the same time, same day, same everything, and it's just too convenient, I think, to group placements together without dialogue, without knowing where the person comes from, their backgrounds, you know, their family situation. All of that plays into the type of, you know, sexual nature that they're going to engage in. So, like, to me, I just thought it was a great topic to talk about, because I don't think we can speak about astrology in this way in absolutes. I think, you know, it's like a formula, and we have to really discuss it to talk about it, and get real discussions happening, so we can talk about real data sets, real things that are going on, and not just like made up stuff. You know, not just like, oh, well, I follow this asteroid and it's about sex, so like now this made up asteroid from, like, you know, 5 years ago is going to tell you everything about your sexual nature. And I don't know, that bothers me a lot. I'm like, what about Venus? What about Mars and how they work together? You know, like, the planets we have that we've been staring at for, like, I don't know, thousands of years can tell us a lot. So I'm more on like that side of things. I'm more on wanting to explore those dynamics, and like get real and talk about like real stuff. So that's what I saw, that I think that you know, the astrology community should really, you know, lean towards, instead of absolutes. I mean, I guess videos, some people like to make videos for sensationalism, you know, it gets the clicks. So it bothers me.
It's a business for sure.
Yeah, it bothers me when I'm like, this doesn't seem like this could help anybody. Just my opinion. I mean, I don't know. I'm not into the Black Moon Lilith stuff being related to, you know, your sexual nature. I mean, all of that is really new. All of those are really new concepts. And I don't feel like they've been tested enough. So, I mean, it's kind of where I'm coming from.
And I'll give you a chance to jump in. I don't want to, but I will lose my train of thought today, guys. So just trying to get ahead of it here. I think that once somebody hits puberty or right around that area, sexuality, fertility, like those aspects become a major part of a human being's life, whether we want it to or not. You know, the body chemistry is there, even if somebody is supposedly asexual. So I think, like the chart on its own, I think that we do everyone a great disservice by just trying to isolate one planet or one placement. I think that, like anything else, it should probably be looked at as a, you know, holistically, is the whole picture before. Yeah.
The chart goes into it.
What to
take away from you? I just wanted to.
No, that was it.
That was all. Well, I agree with all that. I think oversimplifications can sometimes be a helpful place to start a conversation, or I don't know, sometimes they can be helpful ways of looking at things, as long as we know they're oversimplifications. Yeah, where to start? I would want to start holistically too. I would actually not want to start with Mars and Venus. We'll get there. I mean, you know, you can't ignore all that. But I mean, the ascendant, sun, moon, maybe even different things like in combination. But I agree, Abby, with the idea that starting with the hormonal shifts at puberty, for some of us even before, I mean, human life is just remarkably desirous. Like, we're compelled forward to do almost everything because something deep in our energies and it wants to do that. And a lot of times that expresses with a little straight out sexually, or with a little flavor of like, little libidinous tingle, or like, mm, you know, it's just human nature. Holistically speaking, is pretty oriented to sex and has been forever. It's a classic. It's a classic human pastime.
Yeah.
And for everyone watching, I'm no kind of sex expert or a sexologist. This is Abby's sense of humor. I didn't know I was on the podcast until yesterday, and then when I logged in today, I saw it was Sex and Astrology with Michael Hartigan. So naturally, I think Abby's just trying to see if I actually get nervous on the spot. I think
No,
it's just
no.
a test, and I don't, but I'm not an expert in this, and I don't talk to clients very often about their proclivities or orientations. It's not the kind of thing I broach unless someone brings it up with me as having an issue with it.
Yes, I agree. I'm the same.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but people tell me everything, and I don't even have to, I don't even have to bring it up.
One of the cool things about being in, I totally get you. I'm sorry, I'm excited because I wanted to say one of the cool thanks. One of those things about being an astrologer is like everybody has their chart and their nature, and it's going to bring to them the kind of people that they get. And I'm not just talking about sitting behind like a constellational I'm talking about it's your nature, it's your magnetism. People are going to resonate with you, Nikki or Abby or me on some kind of feels. And everybody attracts to them people that reflect them and what they need to learn to, I bring to myself a certain kind of people when I see other astrologers manifesting totally different, totally, like anyone who's read Jeffrey Wolf Green's Pluto Volume 1 knows that the people that came to see him were criminally fucking deranged as a norm.
Did that skew his version or like his vision of what astrology is, or did he recognize that he was getting the nut people?
I'd probably say a little of both. I don't know who can see that from inside as it's happening, but I will say that he probably would recognize that as a Pluto person with his like personal history, like he was a nom-vet. He just went hard. He went hard his whole life into the darkness. And for people to kind of recognize that, oh, here's a person who's comfortable with their darkness. They spill all kind of stuff. They'll tell Jeffrey Wolf Green different set of stuff than they'll tell you because they'll get different vibes and off, so I just think that honestly, I just wanted to kind of get excited about that for a minute, Nikki, because everyone's journey as an astrologer is like this weird thing to see, like, whoa, what kind of astrologer am I? And it's not the one you think or you want to be. It's the kind that everyone comes to you, and if they're telling you everything and they're really opening up to you about stuff, I think that's a good sign. But I think it's a lot of responsibility to carry too.
It is. It limits who I see, because I don't see a lot of light and fluffy charts. I mean, I have an intense chart, and I attract a lot of intense people who've had a lot of situations happen to them in their lives that they really can't quite understand. And I love evolutionary astrology because it gives you a soul map, just looking at where Pluto is and the type of aspects that it's making. I've been able to help people and show them, like, look, this is all part of the plan, and you don't have to be, ashamed of this or that, because it does. How easily our culture turns things like sex and into shame, or judgment.
Whose doesn't, though?
I don't know. There's a lot of.
Let's talk
don't
about
the Japanese
that.
have a pretty awesome culture going? No, do they?
No, the Japanese are like the most sexually repressed people on planet Earth.
Are they? I thought they were very
call that
open
a repressed culture. No,
Yeah.
not so much. But here, let's
okay,
so let's
sorry.
step outside of Christian culture.
Okay.
Let's step outside of cultures dominated by Christianity. Because
In the
Abby, you
modern
know
era?
this, maybe.
Okay.
There's less and less of those as we get more and more modern, but at the same time, you know yourself that people un unoppressed are, I mean, you study Sumerian mythology and history and language, so
Yes.
you know you there have a firsthand glimpse into how people are outside of Christianity, maybe left to their own natures, like just with the old gods and the planets and the stars to guide everything. It's robustly fucking sexual. In
Well,
fact,
that's true.
I would
Yes,
say
that's true.
I would think back to the idea that human life is just kind of like, as most animal life, just it's almost it's almost epitomized by that like urge, especially in younger people, to just make more of us, I suppose.
Hmm.
But I can't think of a modern one. It's a good. I mean, some cultures are like more open and less repressed than others. Like the French are famously like, you know, pretty earthy and grounded about their sexuality and their you know whatever's. You could say that, but they're also like totally Christianized, completely
Yeah, I
Romanized.
was gonna say, like, how long has that been going on? So this is kind of a weird situation too when you're looking at it astrologically, because prior to what may or may not have been a CIA op, or a psyop in general, the sexual revolution, so to speak, that was, you know, the first big explosion of um, non-repressed sexual belief and experience and philosophy in how many thousands of years, you know? So like for the last, so even if we were looking at Pluto, just, and not to go into the astrology side, to stay on the cultural side, but just as I'm doing it,
Okay.
even if we look at the movements of Pluto, I mean, there's no one sign over the last 1,000 years that you can look at and say, well, during this period, you know, this was a more like sexually expressive time in human history. I don't know. Now, I've looked at this from at least from the Near East, from that perspective, and I can't speak for like indigenous tribes anywhere in the world. Like that's just not anything that I know much about. But the Sumerians in particular were rather liberal sexually, not in the sense of, you know, just like free sex for everyone. They had some cultural taboos, but it wasn't anything resembling what we would experience now in like a Judeo-Christian society. So that kind of continued on to like Assyria, Babylon, obviously, I would imagine to Persia. And it's not really until you start to get, and I would think, well, that's not true. So and Michael, you'd probably know a little bit more than me, like what for men in like the Greco-Roman period, obviously men, it's pretty much a free for all, but women are already like very repressed at that point. But
You
then
have to go back to before the Romanization of Europe, at least, if you want to give humanity a fair shake. But that's just an idea. If you're talking about Romanized, like if you're talking about Romanized cultures, I think you're already talking about like a little bit tweaked, repressed kind of
But also
expression.
consider this. Most people don't realize that the New Testament in particular, and early Christianity was a development of Greek philosophy. It was all, they were all retold Greek stories, you know. So it's really Christianity and is explicitly Roman for a solid 1,000 years. So you're right that those things are all very much intertwined. But what again is interesting is at least early on, men, it was kind of like, again, it's a free for all. We have, I think we had legal prostitution in both societies, Greek and Roman. But after we get the Christianization, I don't know if that's a real word, you guys, of the Western world and Western society, I think like the repressive side gets locked down to the extreme. And obviously, Western civilization is a development, at least in the last 2,000 years, of the same culture. So I don't know why. And to be fair, again, I don't know what happened to Japan. I don't know what happened in Japan. I don't
know anything apparently.
And like in the Orient, you know, in the different regions of Asia, what exactly was going on. Like I just don't know enough to say like what they're currently like, how that was affected. But Christianity is well into, I mean, what, like Christianity is the biggest religion in South Korea, right? Vietnam. Like Christianity is huge in these cultures. It's played a major role over the last, at least the last few centuries. So I don't know. So again, when we're looking
That's
at it,
the problem with the last few centuries. If you go back into ancient Chinese writings, they were very permissive and
okay,
open, and just, it was natural. It was an animal thing. It was something people did, and there were like social mores and guidelines around doing it, but they weren't like repressive social mores and guidelines. And in China, they were a little less patriarchal, although patriarchy and misogyny have certainly been a hallmark of this whole long age, from probably before Sumer to the present moment, and may unfortunately be until this shit show ends in that regard. But you can find, and I think you have to go back in history, but you can find healthier and healthier attitudes about sex, the less I want to say the less socially complex things are. I think left to our own devices, we are just more like easily and naturally sexual. And in this way, I think of bonobos, these chimpanzees that are famously hypersexual, but that's only in captivity. And I want to like take.
Is it really? I didn't know that.
Yep.
Oh, interesting.
Look it up. Bonobos in the wild are no more or less sexual than any other primate. They do it like
really
they're
bored in captivity.
And you put them in captivity, they just start sexing. They start sexing like crazy. But that's a lot of human related behavior right there. You know, I mean, you put humans in like a repressed social like thing, and what looks like it's clamping down and creating like, you know, less social behaviors, just creating less visible sexual behavior, less visible. And I actually think it creates more and more like tweaked and repressed and like distorted sexual behavior. But
like that's why we have hentai, because you know you have to go that level of repression. You get real creative. Next thing you know, you're drawing cartoons about banging some tentacles, you know.
Tentacles. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't watch hentai, but if there's tentacles, I'm scared. I'm scared already.
It's mostly tentacles. It's mostly tentacles.
Oh, okay.
That's different.
Great.
Yeah, that's cool.
And who knows what other bizarre behaviors that type of repression creates? We don't know. When you make something a taboo, like some people feed into that way more than you otherwise would. It's interesting when you say that the less complex the societies are, the more liberal they are with the sexual ideas or behaviors. But that demonstrates that the suppression of sexuality is definitely a mechanism of control. Which all of that,
there may be weird exceptions, but I honestly think they're the exceptions that prove the rule. Like Rio de Janeiro culture is pretty famously sexual, and that's a modern place with like modern Christian.
Well, how long has that been going on though?
I don't know. I'm not an expert in Rio de Janeiro culture, but I just think of that, and like Rio de Janeiro is like the LA of Brazil, and then nearby you have Sao Paulo, which is like just more natural, like natural looking bodies, all kind of looking bodies, people not trying to be bikini waxed and slamming to just be normal, but it's all kind of people, everyone just having fun in Sao Paulo. So there's these two sort of twin kind of cultures in Brazil that people, I know people that spend 6 months in Sao Paulo when the northern hemisphere gets cold, and they report that it's fantastically less repressed than most cultures. So
Well, yeah, they have a bunch of nude beaches. The weather's great. Like whenever the weather's nice, people tend to warm up a little bit better. We tend to get out a little bit more, socialize a little bit more.
Yeah. I just want to like, I don't want to focus on that, but I think it's just true that like people and whole charts and kind of everything, not to sexualize everything, but everything has a sexual component and is going to express sexually. Like, how's something going to be in a person's chart? And then I'm going to get to the most like, rawest, most like intimate expression of personhood you could think of, just real quick. And then that's not going to express, like, what is it? Does it stay hidden when you show everything? Like, it doesn't make sense. The whole I'm tripping on tangents that are leaving the train all at the same time.
Yeah, I know. That happens to me all the time.
Dude, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for taking the
You're all right. I've been thinking about the generational planets and how that speaks to the ebb and flow of sexuality. I mean, when Pluto was moving through Cancer, we were wrapping up we were going through some like heavy World War stuff. I mean, by the time it hit Leo, we had the baby boom. Like everybody was making babies. Everybody's talking about sex. I mean, it got really crazy, and the same time we had Neptune, I think, moving through Virgo. So, I mean, there was a lot of like talk about purity and like here people are building like giant families. I mean, there's all these like generational markers, and then Uranus comes along and boom, the sexual revolution happens. And all the suppression that people have been sitting with, and we don't know if it's from, Neptune. We don't know like what influenced, this type of sexual revolution, but it starts with repression. It starts with being told like, hey, you can't wear, like women, like we couldn't wear pants for like forever. People are like, couldn't even vote.
The Norwegian, I think it's their women's volleyball team. Pink, the artist, the musical artist Pink, just paid their like millions of dollars fine or something, hundreds of thousands of dollars, because they wouldn't wear bikini bottoms. They wore like pants.
Yeah, I was telling you about that, Nikki.
Yeah, you were.
This is still going on. I'm just saying, this is current news. That is still going on. That women are like dressed up for the male gaze and so on. You don't have to talk about it like it doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, it's
for my benefit.
It's still happening everywhere. I do want to, before you go past that thought, Nikki, I would ask, so we talk about the baby boom, obviously, at least again in the United States. I don't know, I can't speak for any other part of the world. That on the surface looks like it was maybe a change in the sexual climate, but what really happened was the United States economy was all of a sudden shifted to a wartime economy. There was wealth and new appliances, and people had a surplus. And I mean, it was rocking, in which case you did get like a giant surge of people having babies. Contrast that now to when the economy is slowly decaying and nobody wants to have, they're terrified to have children because there's no way to support them. So then when you look at it that way, now it's not necessarily sexual. Now it's a financial situation. And you can even say like the release of repressed energy during the sexual revolution. Was it really about people just suddenly having the desire to express, or were they just generally rebelling against the social pressures that have been, going on since, honestly, the last few thousand years? So was it really sexual, or was it something else?
That's a good observation. I mean, I wish I was there. I wish I knew. We all talk about the 60s like it was the best time in the world. And to be honest, the fashion was great. The music was fabulous. The drugs were great. I mean, from what I've heard, it was a great time to be alive. But I
Before
think
the hit.
Yeah, right. Oh my God. But it reminds me of the Austin Powers movies. Everybody watched those back in the 90s and laughed. We all thought the 60s were great, but I mean, they did have their They did. You're right. I think it was. I think it had a lot more to do with rebelling against authoritarianism, rebelling against being told this is it, this is how you're going to live, and this is what you're going to do for the rest of your life. And again, that same sentiment is really brewing right now with a lot of young people. You know, I watched a video last night, or like some news thing about how people don't want to have children, and like this younger generation, they don't care. They don't want babies.
No.
They're like, I can't afford them. I don't want to. My
Right
grandmother
now,
had to have, like, yeah, go ahead.
over 40 is having less, more children than like teens and 20s somethings.
Yeah,
they can't afford it. They're like, and what am I going to do for work? They already hate the jobs that they have. They don't want to work in the corporate world. They don't like anything about what's going on at all. Like, I talk to people in their 20s, and they're just like, what the fuck? Like, we have to work these dumb corporate jobs with these dumb corporate rules. Like, what is there to look forward to if, like, this is it, 40 hours a week? I don't even get to enjoy being outside or hanging out with my friends, let alone even planning what a family life could look like.
Yeah, there used to be a decent trade-off for people. They would get enough money to make them sacrifice, you know, like working 40 hours a week. It's not like that anymore. So
well, healthcare is impossible. Like, unless I mean, I can't afford healthcare. I'm one of those people. I just can't. It would clean me out every single month, and for what? Like, I don't get it. But that's another thing. Like, you're forced to work 40 hours a week to get the healthcare coverage. Like, it's a big scheme. It's a big game. It's a big Ponzi scheme, big extortion scheme, you know, to get involved with what's happening right now. And that's just the United States. The other countries they have their other problems. They have different problems. And I don't know what their birth rates look like or what's happening.
I think globally we're headed for I think we've already kind of peaked. I think a lot of people are predicting a rapid population decline, like Japan, for example. They're screwed. They're completely. I think China is too. I think China's population bubble is about to burst because they had the one-child policy, and culturally, it was more beneficial for them to, like, societally to have males instead of females. So, like, there's no females. I don't know what the actual numbers are, but I mean, it's pretty bad. So, yeah, it's pretty bad. Again, I'm bringing this back up because I thought about it, and I'm like you, Michael. My trains are all leaving the station here, so I want to get to it while I'm thinking about it.
Sure,
but and it might be too off topic, but I think it's worth, if we're looking at, because the sexual revolution, I would imagine, is one that a lot of astrologers look to try to, like, you know, say, like, well, maybe this is what was going on. But how much of that was actually due to the plethora of psychedelics that were surging through the younger population? Was it really, you know, how much of that rebellion was really just people all of a sudden, you know, they were tripping face most of the time, and they just weren't seeing the reality, like the constructs started to fall away. So, and among those, maybe, you know, sexual expression and exploration was actually just a byproduct of that.
Well, I think when we talked about the monkeys being, you know, held in captivity, you know, I think that's around the time men and women realized that that's what they've created. I mean, we've created a society that we're trapped in the routine. Like, you have to follow all of these certain guidelines and rules. And at that time, they were like, I want to experiment with a new reality. I don't want to do this anymore. And that when humans do this, it's usually because the routine is stale. We're feeling trapped. I mean, think about it. I mean, you can't just go and be a farmer anymore. You can't just, like, your family lineage can't just be like, you know,
well, not now, sure.
Not now, but I mean, so these are biological human things. Like, we want to work with the land. We want to be a part of the earth. And we're so pulled so far away from it now that I think people are just finding new ways to just escape it, because they don't know what the missing element is. And the missing element is really, like, our connection with the earth, our connection with nature. I mean, we stare at a screen. We look at nature from the screen instead of actually looking at nature. you know. So
Yeah.
how we've developed as humans is in the culture that we're living in has everything to do with how, you know, we approach, you know, sex and our sexual nature and what we want to merge with and what we're yearning for. I mean, there's a lot of people right now. We have Neptune in Pisces, not Aries, folks, in Pisces, and that creates a lot of dreams, a lot of yearning, a lot of wants, a lot of this stuff's just like stirring around in people. So I mean, that creative energy, it's building, it's building up, and I don't think we're gonna head into. I mean, I think eventually we may head into another sexual revolution. Maybe in another 40 years when Pluto enters Aquarius, I think we'll definitely see something.
Well, what do you mean by that? Like, what does that look like? Because we've had, at least again in the West, there's been a surge of not. I don't know what the stats are at the moment for the last couple of years, but we've gone through this period, at least over the last 10, 20 years, where people like hookup culture, where like to the way, opposite end of the spectrum of having any type of, it's not even, I wouldn't even call that natural. It seems like it's more an escape or people trying to fill the void, or even to some
It's
extent.
natural if you're in captivity.
Well, yeah. Well, maybe, yeah. Maybe it's an expression of just being too controlled and too micromanaged by the Matrix, essentially. So maybe that's what it is. But
Yeah,
so what do you think? What does sexual revolution going forward look like then? Would you say?
Well, right now, I mean, we're seeing it monetized. We're seeing sex monetized, like everywhere. Like it's like you can make a whole career out of sex. You can, become famous on the internet. You can be a YouTube fame.
Become more normalized.
It is
Like,
very
more
normalized.
Yeah, to have like an OnlyFans or something is like not even really like scandalous. It wouldn't make anyone like notorious if they had just did some sex work on the side, and that's something that's more of a hallmark of the modern world. It wasn't, I would say that the 60s, the late 60s, and the whole like sexual revolution kind of opened that up. And if we want to take that back to that Pluto Uranus conjunction, now they're in trine, so that phasal cycle's opening up, and we have the trine, so they're still working harmoniously in Taurus, a famously sensual sexual sign, and Capricorn, also earthy, the goatfish. I don't ask about goatfish and sexuality.
No, I will ask. I'm going to have to ask. Because that's not traditionally a constellation I would consider overtly sexual in any
Not
way.
overt. No,
Not
it
at
isn't.
all.
It isn't. It isn't overly sexual. It's not. But it's weird, and it's not sexual, and it is an earth sign. It's just, I don't know. Let's put a pin in that.
Okay.
All I was saying is that I think of the sexual revolution that we can characterize the late 60s, sex and drugs and just stepping out of like repressive, dogmatic social structure that disregards individuality, all of it. I think, well, I have two thoughts, and I caught them both taking off, and I'm going to organize them. My first thought is that revolution's still going on. Now it's going on via the internet and via just technology, Tinder, Grindr, OnlyFans, etc. We were talking just recently about, and I can't date this to any astrology, but like free porn, like just anyone with an internet connection can see the world of performative sex.
Even if you don't want to.
Yeah.
Sure,
Performative.
even if
And
you
that's
don't want
exactly, I think, where we're seeing the Pluto and Capricorn. I mean, it is performative. It's not like most of these videos are made with somebody you actually love. It's all stupid, like weird shit sometimes. I don't want to out myself.
Yeah.
But I've seen some shit and I'm like,
Oh, I know.
Wow.
What some people are into, it really makes you wonder about people. I know what you mean. But on the other hand, I think that these openings up are technological. You could draw a line to Uranus, maybe Aquarius, and you could take that line right back to the 60s. And the other thing that took off that I wanted to mention is that, like, people treat sex as a compartmentalized aspect of life, when honestly the very libido is this is life force. This is the energy that courses through your body, animating your life. You could call it soul. Like, Jeffrey Wolf Green made the point really well, that, like, this is a sexual thing. Like, to be human is just to be sort of saddled, if you will, made to manage in some way, hopefully constructively, your own sexual energies. Like, again, asexuality is kind of the exception that proves the rule, that everyone is doing this. So I just want to say, when we look at sex in astrology, the outer planets have as much to do with it as the inner planets. The personal angles have as much to do with it as anything. I'm testament to that, because I've tried to figure out in my own life my own proclivity for polyamory since I was in high school, and I was first involved in my first serious relationship. I had never had a proprietary approach to relationship partners, and I always encourage them, you're not mine, you do what you want, if you love something, set it free, it'll come back. I've always been very in open relationships. It's my comfort zone, and there's no connection in my chart between Uranus and Venus. That's the classic contact that gives alternative relationship styles. But I'm an Aquarius rising. Seriously, it's the only thing I can figure out, is it's just that Aquarian nature. So it's like, goes to my basic nature. So that's the second thought, in short, if you believe it that was short. I think it just is back to the idea that it's holistic, and it's not even helpful to try and be like, oh, sex is Mars and relationships are Venus. This is like this and that's like that. It's so complicated. We'd need data, Abby. We'd need it.
It is. And Abby was the one who had brought this up and made a point about Uranus not being a planet necessarily about weird sex and weird sex stuff. I mean, she's like, it's a relationship planet. And the more I looked at it and the more I studied it, the more I'm seeing what it is she's saying about it. And you get this, I mean, I've gotten the internet education, I've gotten the, tropical books education. I mean, and it's all wild. That's all they'll say about Uranus, is that you're going to have all of these open sexual relationships when you have these contacts. And that might be true, that might be true for some people. I mean, I had experimental days before I, was married for like 22 years. And that was, it was different than what I was used to, but it was good, for me. And I have Uranus conjunct Jupiter. So like, I don't see it every time. Like the Uranus being into the weirdest shit. Like, yeah, then that's why I was like, we have to have this conversation, because it doesn't turn out that way for everybody. Like my daughter has Uranus and Mars conjunct. And she's very much a traditionalist when it comes to relationships. Very traditional. And it's in Aquarius. I think it's in Aquarius too. She's very traditional. She wants the, family life, and that's that. So I'm like, wow, that's cool. I'm learning. But that's not the typical thing that you would read. That's not, and of course a lot of other things come into play with the chart, all of it. But that's not your typical thing that you're taught to look for as an astrologer. I've said some really embarrassing things. I've asked some really like not cool questions trying to figure out Uranus and its connection to sex. And I've had to be like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. And I didn't get embarrassed. But I mean, that's how you learn, is just asking. And I was not getting the spontaneous, wild stuff that I'm always hearing about with Uranus. Not every time. Not every time.
How could it be, though? I don't understand how it could be, because it's moved so slowly. I mean, how many millions of people?
It's possible, Abby. I would push back against it can't be, but I don't think it's universal. I think what you're saying is there's so much else that goes into that expression astrologically that you can't just say Uranus and Mars is always going to be like kinky or weird, having weird sex. Maybe for that person would take the act of sex signified by Mars and connect it naturally to like a higher self, a higher calling, and they would actually, instead of having kinky weird dungeon sex, they would have like more like either like a tantric approach, like a sacred approach, or like that would be linked to higher self. And I mean, Uranus is a little bit of a wild card, and then what house it's in, and then what's in Aquarius. Like you can't just, you can never just isolate, and that's
I don't think that you can tell. Honestly, I won't bore everyone with all the details, but suffice to say, I've had access to a lot of people who are into a lot of different kinks. Many of them quite taboo, we will say. Yeah. And they come from
Have you isolated anything astrologically? Is that
no? That's what I'm. No, it's the exact opposite is what I was going to say. There's nothing in there that says you're gonna be into this or that, or have kinks, or just like missionary and never or be completely asexual. Like you couldn't. I don't think it's possible to tell in a chart. I don't know. Just like I don't think you can tell in a chart. There's just some things that, like, it's general for a reason. It has to be general for a reason, because there's different ways that you can express one thing or another. But I think that it's folly to try to say, this one express. I'm going to use myself as an example. Okay. So anybody who doesn't know, I write erotica. I write erotica that I can't share with anyone that I know. I have made my mom read it because she's my mom and I made her, and she called me a sexual deviant. And nobody else can read it, because unless you're also an erotica writer, or like the things that come out are not appropriate for most human beings.
Tentacles. Worse.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty tame. Tentacles. But yeah. So, but the point is, I also almost became a nun because I didn't have any, like, I don't, too much information, but we're having the conversation. I don't ever have to have sex. Never. Not any. But I wake up and I think about it, and I create with it. I write about it. I channel that energy, like through workouts, and, and I'm a very physical person. I do a lot of different things. And like what I'm using myself as the example, because how do you go from just not needing sex to also thinking about it all the time? You can't isolate. There's no way. No one would ever know. No one would ever know. And I have known enough of these other like erotica writers and stuff. You would never, they don't tell anyone. They all have pen names, and they live these completely different lives, because they don't, like, it's not something you would ever, like, unless you're a very open person, people don't talk about it. People don't share stuff. And, sexuality in general can be, and it's not quite as bad now, but there was a time when, not that long ago, when you couldn't tell anybody about your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your whatever, you lived in the closet, So I just don't know how much, outside of very broad strokes in the chart, that you can really pin anything down. I suspect, now Nikki and I have talked about this before, and I tend to agree with this. My moon is in Mars, right smack in the middle, I believe.
Yeah, Aries.
Say again?
Yeah.
Aries. I'm sorry. I was thinking, and my Mars is in Sagittarius. So my moon's in Aries, and my Mars is in Yes, Mars is in Sagittarius. So now I agree with this because I've seen it obviously in everyone's chart, but a strong Aries in a chart, this person has a ton of just like raw sexuality.
Raw sexual energy.
Yes. But what do they do? I can't tell you what you're going to do with it. I have no idea what you're going to do with it. I could tell you maybe where
Well-
you would be best suited to do something with it, depending on what planet's there. With my moon there, obviously, to me, that's going to be something that's just a part of my life in general and something I need to lean into and not be afraid of. But you know, like Mars, and I have found anything in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a great constellation. It's very successful, but sometimes it's too successful and it tends to become like a controlling energy because you're used to being a boss and like handling business. And so then you kind of get like, you start to micromanage your emotions and your whatever. So I can see.
Sag always thinks it's right.
And it usually is, Michael.
Sometimes.
If you say no, obviously not.
No,
but so Mars, which I agree is a like if I'm looking for an intimacy planet, but I say intimacy, I'm not just talking about sexual intimacy. I'm talking about like interpersonal experience and relationships, and that, you know, I again, I don't think it's just sexual, but I can see where there's a controlling aspect there too. So like there's these broad, but I still can't tell you if you're going to be like a dominatrix with it or you're going to be completely shut off. Like, I just don't know that that's possible to do. And I'm open to being, having, you know, my mind change. It's not really like I'm not dead set on it or anything, but I just think it's a hard thing to try to pin down.
I have noticed.
I could try to change your mind a little bit, but
Please
I'm gonna give the talking stick to Nick.
Okay.
I was just gonna say I have seen a pattern of dominatrix with Sagittarius.
Yeah.
I've seen a pattern, and I've seen the pattern with like huge sexual nature in Leo, and it does depend on the person.
Fire signs.
Yeah, fire signs
signs.
for sure, for sure. I've tested the Aries placements, and it literally doesn't matter what planet is there. Almost it almost hasn't mattered. They think about sex all the time. It's like the background music that's playing in their head, and it's just like, oh, you know, I'm bored. I'm gonna slip back into it. And these signs are super sexual in nature. And you get an immature, you know, Leo, and they'll attach themselves to about anything, you know, especially if you hit that Cancer Leo cusp there, you know, and you get somebody who's immature, who's felt unloved, who just is like desperate for attention. I've seen that as well. So there are patterns we can follow. There are patterns that we can see.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's like, for sure, this is what this means. You know, it's hard to say. I think it's hard to.
I think it goes to one of those things about astrology that we're sort of maybe poised to discover, which is this idea that, like, while some things can be kind of rough, you know, you can paint rough strokes, you can paint broad strokes, but almost nothing in astrology holds to like all the time. Almost nothing in astrology that like you have a rule, like, because as I want to say, it seems like there are basic rules, but then there are so many complex, even holistically complex modifiers to those rules that to understand whether someone was going to be, you know, let's say they have Pluto-Mars contact, whether they're going to be excessively sexual and wildly promiscuous as Pluto's intensity might mix with Mars, or Pluto signifying polarities and opposites. Maybe this person be asexual. Maybe this person would be just neutral. Pluto's kind of the force that's that all or nothing. And as to outer planets playing into people's expression of sexual energy in their lives, as much as I don't want to sexualize Mars, I would put it to Mars, Abby, and I would say that what you describe, a kind of you know, not shying away from sexual energy at all, not being prudish or in any regard shameful or in a shamed state about your own sexual energy or the sexual scenarios you may write about. It's still the case that what you're describing is a hallmark of Pluto-Mars contact. That sort of asexual periods, or at the same time, some sort of like polarized or bifurcated nature around sex. Like on the one hand, you don't care, you don't need to have it. That's great. That's a freedom in and of itself. On the other hand, you work with it most personally and closely in your writing of erotica.
I don't think I
I don't
have
know anything about how important that is to you, so I'm not trying to put anything on you. But what you
Right.
said to me sounded like Pluto-Mars contact.
I don't think I have one though.
Okay.
I'm gonna check.
Can I
for
look
you.
at your chart?
We'll find out. Oh, you have my chart, right?
I might have your chart. I should have your chart.
Okay, let me see here real quick.
You know what we don't talk about a lot when we associate, the planets with sex, and we don't really talk about Mercury, and Mercury's,
Heckin' sexual.
the nature behind it, and it's like ability to interpret the reality around you. I mean, I think a person's Mercury has a lot to do with what they're going to be focused on, where their mind is going to go, where the thinking is, and the contacts to Mercury are definitely going to influence that. So I have Mercury Mars conjunct, and when I was younger, oh my God, I was like, all that was on my mind. And it was, I would write like lots of poetry, and stuff like that too. And, watch a lot of like romance action movies, stupid shit like that.
I could be totally
it.
projecting because I have the same contact, Mercury Mars. Now, it's square. It's square to like 1 arc minute. It's the closest contact in my chart. So maybe I'm projecting. Maybe I'm saying, oh, humans are naturally and intrinsically sexual and desirous, but maybe that's just my Mercury Mars because that's how I perceive everything. It's just through a
No, I would agree with that. I don't think the same issue, and not that it's an issue, but no, my Mercury and my Mars are quite far away, but I would agree. I think that now I could be a little biased. I obviously have a tantric background, and the originally, okay, I know I'll probably get make some people mad, but Shiva is traditionally and Shakti are very sexual energy. Like that's why there's so many depictions of Shiva and Shakti in coitus, because and that's why we have the linga. It's literally a depiction of the.
So they wash it with milk. They don't make any pretend. They don't make
milk
any
and honey. Yes, that's
pretend to,
right. That's right.
Yeah, they're washing Shiva's lingam. That's how Shiva likes it. They
That's
don't.
right.
Yeah, agree. I want to co-sign that.
Okay,
as
thank you.
Shiva.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, but that's there's this idea that like the material, whatever the material is, whatever you want to call it, is inherently sexual. It's just a part of, like you said, Michael, the driving force. Having grown up on a farm and being around gelded animals, and I'm sure anybody out there, if you've ever had an intact animal compared to one that has been sterilized, I mean, they're completely different creatures. They're completely different animals. That drive is pretty much, I mean, you're basically on autopilot once you geld a horse. It's like a completely different situation. Yes.
Oh my God. I was just thinking about my cat and how nice he was after we got him fixed.
That's right.
Nice.
Yep.
Sorry.
Have to spray and fight and escape and go.
Yeah, that's the sexual energy.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Okay. Abby, I'm
Yes.
looking at your chart, and I want to point out it's interesting. You have your Mars in Sag, just as you were describing, and it's square in the chart I have for you, about 3 degrees to Pluto, and Pluto's right in the degree of a star.
Okay.
Spica in Virgo.
Yeah.
That's a powerful Pluto, but it's a spiritually elevated Pluto. Okay, and it's gonna square Mars, and I would say that like contemplation of renunciation, renouncing sex for like a spiritual life. I air quotes because there's nothing not spiritual about sex. I
actually did 7 years of celibacy for for spiritual purposes. So
Oh my
Yeah.
God. 7?
yeah, and veganism all in one go.
Oh my God. You
Both
punished
were
me so bad.
both were a terrible mistake. What I
Wow.
learned
Okay.
what I learned from that. Now I didn't have any qualms about eating meat, or I did it as a form of I was just it was an austerity. I was trying to do something difficult.
Yeah.
Um
It's
and
not a mistake for everyone. I don't mean to say.
I would
I'm
disagree,
just
but
remembering we're live, and
we could have that conversation. I will
hey, listen. I would see you on veganism is unnatural for humans. I'd see you, and I might raise you, but I don't know. I've seen successful vegans. I've seen people try to create balanced protein chains with their quinoas and their beans and rice. I eat dead animals, and that's all. I'm just going to leave it there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still recovering from a vegan diet. It destroyed my body, and I think it
Yeah,
eventually will
you
destroy
can.
everyone's.
Your build and yeah. You probably
There are definitely people that handle it better than others, but I just don't. You don't see veganism anywhere in any hunter-gatherer society throughout human history, and I don't think it's natural. And that's what I was going to say. That's what I basically learned about celibacy, was that it was it's actually very unnatural, and it's very to suppress the sexual energy. Now, this is one of the, I will say this is not as bad as veganism, because I do think that there are people that are designed for it and can do it and can make it work, and we're talking, you got to be a saint. You got to be,
What? I never even looked at Mother Teresa's chart. I was going to look at that, and I never looked at it. I'll look at it before Saturday.
Yeah, but
so even those people, Abby, who go into renunciate life as people who are gonna, let's say, do celibate activities for a period of time. The wisest thing I've ever heard on this subject is that celibacy without technique, yogic technique, is insane. Insane. Don't do it. You need to have, if you're not going to be, and now most of these teachings are for men.
Sure.
Okay,
yes,
right.
a completely different situation. Yes.
Totally different. But from that point of view, for people, if they're constantly giving rise and giving expression to their sexual energies, that is like natural and whatever. And when you stop that, if you don't have a way of channeling it upward and inward into nourish your energetic body and your organs and your brain and your whole system, if you're not taking that energy and putting it to good use, just speaking from a male point of view, you can actually like rot your testicles. I've heard of this. I've heard of men like Amish types who just like wouldn't ejaculate and their semen rotted in their testicles. Medical problems. It's unnatural. It's not like the kind of thing anyone wants to just not do it without technique. So even those people, they have to deal with sex. They have to deal with their sexual energy. They have to deal with this, because I've done this stuff. I've done those meditations. I've learned these techniques. And it's like, there's no way. You don't sexualize it, but you don't try to run from the sexuality of it either. No, I'm celibate, and this is what I'm doing with my sexual energy. I'm nourishing my own fucking brain. Like, you have to. There's no other way.
Yeah, otherwise you get mean.
Yes, and I think
things can happen.
I think a distinction also should be made in this is also reflected in Tantra, is male sexuality and female sexuality are completely different animals, at least from like well, I guess we could say biologically and from an energetic or spiritual side. Yes. And that is, so like from the Tantric perspective, Shakti, the female sexuality and the sexual power, is the creative power. Obviously you need both, but it's more the expressive side. And I think females in particular, I think that's not to get, because I'm not like, oh, the patriarchy, but I do think that there's a very real effort to suppress feminine sexuality, or even distort it and over-sexualize it. Obviously, two sides of the same monster. But I don't think that females really, I don't think that they need to be suppressing that. I think that our creative power is we're under the thrall of creative hormones and chemicals nonstop. We're constantly affected by it. And so I think that that needs to be something that flows through us, as opposed to trying to, and I took a very masculine approach to most things in my life. And I didn't, I don't want to say I didn't consider it to the same, but I wasn't looking at it from the same way. But I mean, I learned something from it. I learned that, like, the sexual energy is best. Let's do something with it. And, I had to go through my own, we all, that's a part of being a human too. We all have to come to terms with ourselves as sexual beings. And if you grew up Catholic or some other religions, you got your own stuff that you got to get through. But I think that's all a part of the human experience. And that's why I go back to, I think sexuality is a part of, I think we live and breathe it, whether we know it or not.
This reminds me of a conversation I had recently with a person I had never met before. And they're a lot older woman. And I just have the ability to just make people talk about things. I don't know what I said to kick it off, but we ended up talking about how she had always fantasized about being an exotic dancer, and how she still fantasizes about it. And I'm like, even
how old is she
now? She was old, okay, like 60, 70, like great, like I don't know, on the edge of the edge.
All right.
But not bad looking. So I was like kind of encouraging her to like,
or hey, there's always time. There's a
home,
market for it. There is a market for it.
You can dance at home. Well, and that was the whole thing. She was like, I really like the idea of being desired and dancing and doing all these awesome things, but I don't want to have to do all these sexual acts.
You don't have to if you're an exotic
exactly.
dancer.
That's what I said. Like, there's a way you can do it, to just live out your desire without having to, go join a strip club or work at your local place. You can do
you're not, hey, just for the record out there, if you're an exotic dancer, you're not supposed to be doing anything sexual. That's actually not legal.
That's actually not legal, but that's not how all the places around.
Yeah, let's talk about how shit
works.
works.
Yeah.
I know enough dancers to tell you that's not how shit actually works.
Well, that's a new shift. I actually did work as an exotic dancer for at least a few years before I joined the military, and that was a no-no. Nobody was allowed to touch you. Nobody touched anybody else. So we've had this conversation before with other people, and it seems to be something much more recent. I'm going to out my mom. She's proud of it too. My mom was also an exotic dancer, and cool. That's how we ate for many a year.
Come on,
yeah, that's right.
I think about it.
She said the same thing. Like, no, nobody did that back then. And that was
never
back
expected like back room, like VIP, and like no sex acts. Okay.
No. Yeah. The Chris Rock song was right. There is no sex in the champagne room. That's legit. So I don't know what's happened in the last 10, 20 years. But that was not the norm at all. And I worked at strip clubs in different parts of the country. So did my mom. She worked out in LA, up in Detroit, down in Florida. It's just, that's not normal. So I just want to say that, because I think now a lot of exotic dancers get a bad, you're just automatically lumped in with, sex work, which I don't have a problem with either, by the way. If I'm going on the record and saying it's your body, dude, you can rock it,
Well, yeah,
if people can do it for free, I don't see why you can't get paid for it. It doesn't make any sense.
Honestly,
that's true.
Who's going to put that trip on anyone? How dare you take money for that valuable?
That's great. That's insane to me. That's
insane. It's insane. Yeah. Sex work is probably the oldest work.
Absolutely.
It is. It's the oldest profession.
Humanity was taught the secrets of civilization itself by a prostitute to the gods or whoever, took those bonobos and injected them, whatever.
But
those prostitutes. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, my point is that the women I meet are still have a suppressed sexual nature. A lot of people do, and they are ashamed, or they don't want to share or live out their fantasies or their experiences. And I think the more people talk about it, the more it should be okay to just Join a, there's
Sex
plenty of
is
pole
okay.
dancing, around that you can do that isn't like, I don't know, at a strip
It's a
club.
class now you can take.
Yeah,
Some of I was surprised. So this is like maybe 10 years ago, but my super Catholic family, one of my cousins, was like, yeah, my daughter, she's taken pole dancing. It's just like gymnastics now. You could just do pole dance. Like,
Oh
what?
yeah. Oh yeah. I know.
Okay.
I saw it. I was like, I want to do that, but I don't want to hold myself up. I got neck problems.
Yeah.
I thought about
Chels, to your comment, that's my experience too. You get in with the wrong set, man. They'll run you like a fucking animal. It's definitely
Yeah.
ugly out there. It's not just to be taken for granted. Like, people will protect you in that industry.
Not at all. When my daughter was going to beauty school, a lot of the people that she was going to beauty school with were also working at one of the clubs here in town. And they were trying to get her to work there. And she was considering it. And I'm like, dude, like, you're going to have to be nice to people that you don't like. And she was like, oh, yeah, that's right. I don't like
You know what? I think it's a great job. I think it's phenomenal. And I'm going to say, I know this was not what we got on the call
No,
for.
but
since we're talking about it.
but the thing was it wasn't, you don't make money dancing. That was the thing. You don't make money dancing. You make money by going in the back room and doing
what
shit.
lap dances
Yeah.
turn into. That's like a
Yeah.
norm for a lot of people in that industry. Just
And
like
that-
you're
yeah.
saying there's other norms exist. There's two norms, that's all. And we don't have to dwell on it.
No,
But it is good to
it's
recognize.
it is losing its way though, and I think goes to show the turn of the economy. Like how people are willing to do anything.
Part of it's
to, like,
economy.
part of it is and survival.
But I think as more people are empowered to like do sex work and like behind like their OnlyFans or in the protection of their own home or without like a gangster racket around them, they can have this too. That's empowering to people to get out of like slavish situations. It's empowering to people to, like we said, make money. It's driving a whole new economy. This like sexual gig economy is like, it's real.
It is. The kink community is insane. I watched this video about a lady who was you guys making way more money than all of us put together for years. And all she was doing was putting on really tight pants and farting in front of the camera. And I was like,
yeah.
And
Listen,
I couldn't rip on her because
there's-
she makes way more money than like we'll ever
No,
see.
you can't disrespect that hustle. You could be like, oh, that person sells boob sweat, or they sell farts in jars and like, but
do,
like you
though.
laugh until you realize what they're making.
If my feet pictures could make that much money, I'd be selling them. You'd see them
Hey,
all over.
free market capitalism.
Yeah, it is. It is.
The market is speaking, and that's
I
what
tell
people
someone
want.
Well, so I don't know. Yeah. Anyway.
I couldn't argue with that, Abby. I couldn't argue with that. And I don't know why, but I think people are just so like kind of repressed and twisted and all this after like 2,000 years of Christianization and all that now that the sexual revolution has kind of opened up this box, and the contents are spilling out. I think that it's just for some people a really exciting time to be alive because there's all these energies under the surface, and that for them is like a driving feature of their lives. Seemingly not like any of us. We're not driven by those things, but it's part of our world. It's I don't know. Back to the sexual revolution and this like long process of unwinding, like a longer process of beating into a suppressed state. It's just.
I think astrologically, what we need to look at, if we're going to look at the sexual revolution, we have to look at the period that, and it's a long period, like at least the 300 to 500 year period of sexual repression, when that really started to happen and became more, just prevalent in Western society, to first see what was happening astrologically and then start to see the unwinding. Because between that period, what you have like the Dark Ages, the Middle Ages, Maybe people lighten up a little bit during the Renaissance, but for the most part, it's been repression the entire time. So whatever Pluto's triggering to unleash this, or Pluto or Uranus or whatever's happening, we all have to keep in mind that Pluto's been hitting those same marks for the last few thousand years and didn't result in a sexual revolution.
Well, you know, we have technology now too. I mean, we have this move towards globalization, and you know, when we can find out what other people are up to, what they're doing, we can connect with, you know, the people we want to connect with that have the same things in common. You know, so I think people become more, you know, feel more free when they're like, oh, I found my people, I found my thing, I found, you know, and the internet really changed everything. It wasn't long ago the only boobs you were going to see were in the National Geographic magazines. I mean, unless you could get yourself
they had that good section at the gas station.
Yeah, they do.
Remember?
Yeah, but we would get yelled at for looking at
well,
that.
That's
so
true.
They
You
would
were
shoo us away, so we couldn't look at those. And then they started wrapping them real tight in plastic because they'd get grown men coming in. Like,
yep.
But yeah, it wasn't long ago, you know, and now sex is everywhere and it's free. I mean, we had an issue in our town where we had massage therapists, and they were actually, you know, doing therapy on underage boys, high school boys. These high school kids found out that they could go to this place
and get therapy
and get the happy finish. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's been something like, sex is easy to get. It's easy. It's fast. It's free. It's everywhere. I think.
Just like chlamydia.
Just like, yeah.
Gonorrhea.
There is a bit of a sexual burnout, I think, with some people, because it's just like, it can be absolutely ridiculous. It's everywhere. I mean, I've been single for like 2 years. I mean, it's a text away, you know, like that's everywhere, you know, but actual real human connection, and that's rare. That's hard to find. The generations that are coming up, you know, they're Pluto and Ophiuchus generations, you know, they're seeing this nature that we've grown up in, and they're looking at it from a different perspective, and I think they're horrified. I think they're like, what's happened to what happened to this generation, and what happened? Some are just lost, and they're like, okay, I'm following all the, you know, societal rules, and I'm doing the hookup culture thing. Why isn't it working? Why can't I find the love of my life? Why aren't I happy? Yeah. And I think because I don't know what I think.
Despite all of our sexual nature, sex on its own does not bring happiness.
Yeah,
that's it. That's just it. That's exactly it. If it did, we'd all stay at home with and be little masturbation monkeys, because dopamine would cure everyone's problems. But it's not like that. No, sex functions best, I think, as a healthy expression of appreciation when you, and I'm not saying like you have to love, or, you know, love's a big word, and love's another weaponized concept.
Yeah,
but I think sex has a purpose. Sex has a purpose, like generatively, to procreate, to make more people. That's like a pretty raw scientific purpose. But sex has the potential to give pleasure and express appreciation. And when people get into pair bonding or any other kind of relationships, they develop profound appreciation for each other. And it's a really healthy expression of and all kinds of bonds across genders, like whatever. Just like, I mean, unfortunately, my first thought is like to the warriors of ancient Sparta, which is a grotesque example of this. But the ancient Greeks knew that men who had sex together were more cohesive and committed and loyal. They would take more risks for their sexual partners, and they would make better soldiers. So they encouraged this. They actually in Sparta, they paired young soldiers up with older soldiers just to make sure everyone got fucked. But honestly, that was the thinking. that was the thinking, that sex is actually going to make this unit function better. And you can take a unit as a 2-person or any constellation, relationship constellation, and sex is like that. So it's not just like this sloppy, messy stuff we do to try to escape from reality. I think I just want to put a real strong pin in that. Like, sex is good. It's actually like good. There's nothing wrong with sex, just because society is all twisted about it.
Yeah, and it depends on where you live, you know, and what's going on. I thought Japan was cool because, I mean, they have like,
Tentacles.
I don't know, prostitutes everywhere. I mean, dude, I watched this show about this guy who's like spending his day at the office, and he's like, I'm going to go to lunch, and he just goes to a prostitute. And that was lunch. And
yeah, but he may be going to the prostitute because he can't find a girlfriend. He can't get
that. Well, no, yeah. I mean, it's normal though. This is normal. He's married. Yeah. This was a married guy. This was, I don't know. And then in her life, like, she was, while he's at work, she had people over, and like, she was doing her thing. Like, it was weird.
I don't think that's normal.
Japan.
And that sounds like an interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that Japanese normal.
No,
that happens everywhere.
That's probably why they were on like.
Yeah, that's how they got on the show, probably.
Okay.
Okay. But people do all kind of relationship models. I wouldn't shame anything like that either. But I wouldn't call it normal. I'm with you on that, Abby.
I don't think the norm is just a man and a woman and that's it. That's never been the norm. That's never been how the world has worked or how society has worked. And we've been kind of, I don't want to say brainwashed, but I mean, the church was like, no, we need you guys to just be one and one and build like all these families and give us 10% of everything you earn every month. You know, like, I'm not saying this was like a religious scam or anything like that, but people didn't live like that for a really, really long time. Okay. They had very open sexual worlds happening, and I don't know. It ebbs and flows. I mean, I
think it's hard to say without having a deep understanding of the different cultures and different parts of the world throughout history, because it does vary so much culturally. But I think it's fair that in the West, our society now is based on that Judeo-Christian culture and sexual repression. Again, I don't know what happened in Japan. I'm not sure. I don't know.
I'm sorry I brought Japan up at all. I didn't know.
No, it's a great.
I watched the documentary.
It's great to bring up. It's great to bring up.
They were all just really.
It's such an extreme case. It's such like it's a perfect example of what happens when your society is too repressed. I mean, they don't
highly organized, totally concentrated, very, very dense. Like, sure, I'm thinking Tokyo, but that's. Yeah, you just have all these twisted expressions. I think, Abby, you said something earlier that I'm so glad you brought up, because you said earlier that you weren't really like well versed on how Aboriginal or indigenous cultures like conduct themselves sexually. And honestly, they respect the sexual energy and the life force in the same ways we're talking about. And I think they control it a lot better within the bounds of healthy relationship. I think there's an understanding that, like, kind of like we had to go through the 60s to realize, like, LSD isn't actually a recreational drug. It's not something you just drop like Hunter S. Thompson levels of anything to go have a good time. Not for most people anyway. And sex too, to a lot of indigenous cultures, is not properly recreational. It's more like, well, I think it's more like an expression of that appreciation within the context of healthy family units. It's just something people do. It's nothing anyone has like weird feelings about or shame.
A lot of times it's done in the open. There's kids around. There's people around.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's true too. And I think the most important point to say about it is my experience with indigenous cultures and sex has been that it's not something that's like bursting up, wanting to like explode from under the surface and like take all kind of like, or it's not something they won't talk about. You know, some of them don't like to talk to modern people about, because the modern people's like, you know, fucked up ideas about sex. But to themselves, I think a lot of Indigenous, and from what I understand, Aboriginal communities, now, like, geez, if I do understand Australian Aborigines well enough, some of them will just like only do it at like certain times or cycles, or like when it's more just like strictly like we have to keep the tribe going. But I don't claim to understand that. I don't know if anyone does. They don't talk too much to outsiders. But it's like a sacred thing without being like sacred. You know, we only have the idea of sacred because we have this profane like idea of profane, and to them it's just natural. And that's where it ends. I would say in the purest cultures I've seen, it's just
Yes, but there's also examples of tribal societies that have some very what I would consider disturbing sexual practices. Like there's the one where I can't, and don't ask me to tell you exactly. I could probably look it up real
go
quick.
for it.
The one where they basically take all the boys and they make them drink semen, because that's what gives them like their warrior. So it's basically they're basically just a tribe of pedophiles. It's really horrific. There's
That
one
is
in
actually
South America, again, and there's a ton, and I couldn't name you, but I could dig it out if you needed me to. If somebody wants to like call me on it, I'll happily dig it out for you. But they basically like women are completely suppressed sexually. The men are, it's like hyper masculine, you know, like homoerotic, you know, it's kind of like you described with the Spartans, where they're allowed to do whatever they want, but females you can't look at a man, you can't look at genitals, you can't touch anybody, you know. So they have examples.
No, I hear you saying like there are different groups with this structure, and I don't disbelieve you, but are you saying you're not like exactly sure, like are these
All I'm saying, no, what I'm saying
continent?
is, I don't think it's good to, I think we get in and I'm guilty of this too, certainly at different times in my life, where we kind of romanticize native cultures and tribal societies, like they're connected to nature, so everything they do is cool. Like, you know, we gloss over the fact, not you specifically, Michael, but like the Native Americans were killing each other nonstop. Child brides, you know, like
I went to the exception, not the rule, because I have more experience, I think, with Hopi than with anyone else. But they're like very peaceful and very respectful of sexual energy. Like culturally, they teach their children like that's not a toy, that's for fucking love, and be careful with it. And that's Hopi. Yeah, you're right. There are various cultures that do various things that may be understood within that cultural context, but they might seem demented to modern people, even harmful.
Right. I think about my own childhood and the type of movies we watched and the type of entertainment we consumed, and it was a lot of like sex and violence, and there wasn't really a cap on that.
Weinstein era.
It was just awful, you know. Like I think about it now.
Like what movies?
All of them, like all the Chuck Norris movies, all the
everything was
who was
sexy.
The guy with the ponytail? Like he in every movie he was in, like his wife would always get raped and killed, and you have to go avenge her.
He's still making movies, and they're exactly
the exact same movies, you know. So these give you a really warped idea about what sex is and what love is. And so
they weren't as how about before that. In the 60s, the 70s were atrocious, the 60s were bad. That's where you get like the over sexualization, like all the Bond babes, you know. They weren't any better. It's not, you know,
they created all these situations. So you're like, well, what is love? Like you got the chick that needs to be saved, you got the chick that's just like, you know, it's insane.
Harold and Maude's a good love story, but it's not over. It's not over.
I think it, you know, just
you're right.
Messes with a person's like ability to decide like what is love, what is, you know, how do I want to approach my own sexual nature, and this is what I've seen, and this is what I want to try to do. This is what I want to try to replicate. It didn't take long for me to realize it's nothing like the movies. It's nothing like that at all.
Porn too.
And there's freedom in that, you know. There's freedom in realizing, oh, this isn't the way, you know. So I think that messes with a lot of people. I mean, dude, you guys, I mean, I think I was like 12 when I saw the Pulp Fiction rape scene, and I it fucked me up.
I don't
Like,
remember
big
the
time.
rape scene.
There,
Oh,
yeah,
you mean with dude in the basement?
yeah, yeah. I mean, and that really scared the
Scary
shit out of
scene.
me. That scene just like fucked me up because I only ever saw women being victims of this type of behavior, and I never saw like the type of things that men are subjected to.
Yeah, and they joke
So
about it like there's the drop the soap jokes, or like you're allowed to laugh at those. Like, we're talking about somebody being sexually violated. Why is this all right? Like, why is it okay?
well, because I mean, we use humor, we use like dark. Some of us,
yeah, but
use
you
dark
can't joke
humor to
about
get
that with
through
a.
it.
You can't
With
make
somebody
female
said-
rape
Yeah,
jokes.
there's
That's the
no.
thing.
No.
I see what you're
No,
saying.
you
That's
can't.
a gender disparity in and of itself, Abby.
Yeah.
No one
Yeah,
jokes
absolutely.
about. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we don't see, you know, what, so if that culture growing up that way, you know, messed with me and I had to like figure shit out, how many men did it mess with, you know, and their thoughts on what love is, you know, and the female body and all of that, you know, and I just consider all of those things like with our current, like our generation, I guess I consider that, and how much it like entertainment and the things we consume like fucked us up. I mean, we think about it, we have parents who just kind of sat us in front of the TV and was like, oh, thank God, at least they're friends. We got to run around, we got to do stuff. Now, parents are a lot more controlling over their kids, or they're at least a little bit more worried about where they are.
Yeah.
Well, I don't see any commercials playing. Like, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are?
Yeah, but instead, but they know where their kids are. They're inside on the couch watching their phone, which is just as
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, Abby,
is
when
just
I
as
was a
bad.
kid,
You're
my
absolutely right.
parents had no idea where I was, and good thing they didn't have any idea what I was doing. Kids these days are on a leash. I used to run around,
Yeah.
get on my bike, and take off.
We did too.
I'd
Yeah.
go wherever I wanted. I'd unfortunately do whatever I wanted, and my parents weren't even a factor in my decision.
Yeah.
And I don't see that today. And I grew up with a lot of kids who we just hit the woods. We'd be like, "Where you want to go? Let's walk along the tracks."
Yeah, that's how
We
it
get
was when I was
tired and we have to
younger
turn
too,
around.
yeah.
Let's pack a sandwich. Parents, we never reported to them saying, "Mom, I'm going to walk along the tracks until I get tired." I didn't have to text. I didn't have it. Yeah, I'm 40.
Yeah, that's true. In that sense, yes, but they've
It's a
traded
surveillance
sitting
state now.
people in front of a TV from sitting in front of a phone or a tablet, and again, they have access to anything on the internet, which is, I think, arguably
Which
worse.
is scary. I've seen I've got kids. They're all grown up now. Okay, actually, today my son turns 24, so I was like
Congratulations.
celebrating, you know, the first time I became a mom. But I mean, they don't know how to delete their browser history, you know. So kids. I'm not saying my son in particular, but kids. So I got looking at the browser history. And they were at that age where they're curious about sex. They're curious, where do babies come from? How are babies made? What's going on with this? You know, these are conversations parents need to have with their kids. They can't be afraid to have conversations with their children about sex. What happens? All of that. Yeah, it's uncomfortable. Yeah,
They make videos now. They make like
a book.
cartoons.
I bought a book. I had a book, and I was like, "This is it." And they were like horrified. They're like, "I can't fucking believe I have to have this conversation with you, Mom." Like, but I mean, we have more of an open dialogue now when it comes to that stuff. They can share with me like a lot of different things that I don't think a lot of kids would be comfortable sharing with their parents normally if they weren't open to having those conversations. And like with my parents, it was a lot of shame and disgust, and we don't want to talk. Like, don't talk like that. They wanted me to be a nun because we have a whole bunch of them in the family. A whole bunch of them. I'm like, good for them. Good for them.
I just got the silence of parents who would rather not. In fact, by the time my poor dad finally saw fit to address the topic that I might have wet dreams or wake up with an erection I didn't understand, I'd already lost my virginity. At that time that he saw fit to say that to me, I was like, "Dad, I'm just going to get out of the car now." Look, that generation was totally out of tune with
That
the
was the
ch-
sexual revolution generation, wasn't it? So what the hell? Where's the
I
Well,
don't
truth?
know. I don't know what
well,
happened. Like that's
okay. There's answers to that, but
Okay, I'd like
what
to know.
happened was the force of sex exploded, and not everyone reacted to that the same way. I mean, some people retreated back into their Christian corners. Some people listen, the 60s weren't universally defined by sexual revolution. There were people going to Vietnam. There were people strapping up in the name of the United States, going to kill people they'd never met just because they were told to. That was the 60s. That was the sexual revolution, anything. It was different for different people, but
Yeah.
I don't want to ramble. I don't have collected thoughts on that subject. But
Okay. You're allowed to ramble though. You're welcome.
No, I don't
Your name's on the title of the video, Michael. You're allowed.
Thanks, Abby. Thank you for that. I'll get you back for that.
No worries. No worries.
I'll get you back for that one day.
It is generational though, because I mean, I've studied my parents, and their parents didn't tell them anything either. They kind of just got the
Nothing.
nothing.
Christian.
It
They got
was a
Christian.
very silent generation. Yeah, they did. They did.
He married
My-
first. That's what they got.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and show up
didn't
on the wedding
marry.
night with no clue what was about to happen. Yep, I got some relatives that told me those stories too. No clue.
No clue.
No, I couldn't
Yeah.
do that. No. Sorry.
Yeah. Same thing that when they got their periods, didn't know what was happening, didn't have any clue. Yeah,
I guess if it wasn't for school, I wouldn't know either. Like I never got the talks. Everything was if I ever brought it up, I was disgusting, and it was like that's pigs talk like that. Like that's how fucking it wasn't talked about in my. It was shamed and shunned, and it was just so weird to me because I was like, how am I so different than the rest of you guys? Like you're not any different. This is so weird. But I mean. Yeah, I don't know. It's each household was different. Each.
We grew up on a farm. You can't not know what's going on.
Oh,
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
when I was 12, we had to breed my horse. I had a mare, and my mom's friend had a stallion. And you got to walk your horse over there. I don't know if you ever seen like a horse get up on top of it. You can't miss it. You can't miss it. You see everything, and it's
Yeah. I've been to the zoo.
in all of its glory. Yeah.
2 guy giraffes.
Yeah.
2 guy and they were all hanging out. Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, so
it was
I think if but again that goes back to if you have a connection to nature, you can't escape sexuality in nature. Like it's everywhere. Like
I don't know.
birds
Well, for me, it was like a lot of hypocrisy considering what we had on the television all the time and what was going on all the time. It just never really seemed like. It just seemed weird, and it's generational to me, and I think it's the way people are brought up.
Yeah,
so
it's
my
called
mom was brought up that
gaslighting.
way. Yeah,
And it is the way people are brought up. They show
Yeah.
you the shit that people have done since time out of mind, and then they tell you don't do that.
Yeah, very much like that.
And
So
they
it's
tell
very
you
confusing.
here's something on the tip of everyone's tongue, but if you talk about it, you're a shameful hussy. And it's just so ridiculous. And I think one of the best things that we can do now here, regardless of generational or historical period, is just, this Saturday have a safe space for people to just actually be able to talk about sex. That simple. Maybe, not
In relation
Not,
to astrology, guys.
in
Yeah.
relation to astrology, right? That's what those were
Yeah.
the words I was going for. But yeah, it's such a wound up topic. It does have a tendency to explode, but I still think that the best thing we can do is just simply like communicate. Like it's all we really have to do is kind of keep talking and not shut it down out of fear or doubt or shame. I like that none of us really know. Like we're here, and I'm the registered sexpert of the day. And I have
Stop.
Yeah.
We're all in the same boat, Michael. We all are.
That's
in
it.
the
That's
same
what I
boat.
love. That's what I love. Is
Yeah.
like this shows us an area of inquiry that might yield like really awesome results. That's what I'll say that, but it doesn't show anything that I think I can know. And I was already confused, as like I understand it's not Venus and Mars. I understand like Saturn and Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, probably the dwarf planets, maybe the asteroids. It all goes into it. I think it's a good place to start, admitting that there's so much more that we don't know than that we do, and trying to just address that honestly. Get data, keep talking. I really think it's an honest service to fucking humanity.
Yeah, I agree.
So thanks for the platform.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love your cup, by the way.
It's a good one.
I got mine today.
Yeah, let's show off the swag. That's the official cup.
It looks good. It looks great. It's nice. It's big too.
Look good.
Yes.
It does look good. There's the loser is getting in on the other side.
Yeah.
Because he's about to do Sidereal Astrology. It's official.
It is official.
Actually, it is official ISAA swag available on the website. Check it out.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Chelsea, I didn't I would have danced around whoever. I wasn't concerned at that point, but I really feel like I'm a stereotype. When somebody sees my chart, I feel like you can see all of my personality traits just are very obvious and jump out. So I suspect that some of my brashness is in there. Now, what I will tell you, I have two things to follow up on the exotic dancer conversation. The one thing was, and I started to say this, and again, this goes back to, well, let me first say that I also worked as an escort. I worked for two different escort services. In both of these, it is very clear the business owner, the escort service owner brings you in, looks you in the eye and tells you, under no circumstances are you to prostitute yourself or do anything under that, okay? They're running a business and like they don't want to get it shut down. So like you're basically a renegade. And that's how it always was.
What country, Abby?
Huh?
May I ask what countries you worked in?
I worked in Florida.
Florida, great.
Yes. So once again, like this is, and even the other escorts, the other girls are like, no, like don't, like under no circumstances. That's not what we're doing. Okay. If you wanna hook, you go down to the the corner or whatever, and you can smoke some crack and do what you want to do. But like, no, this is a legitimate, and even as an exotic dancer, like you can't, I got in trouble all the time. They always got pissed at me because I'd be like, yeah, I'm a stripper. They're like, no, you're an exotic dancer. This is a different thing. Like this is a respectable profession and you go in and you dance. I'm like, all right. Which I did.
You're like, all right.
But going back to, yeah, like you're a stripper, whatever, it's fine. But going back to being a dancer, this was not long after I decided not to join a convent, like very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. And what I thought it was like one of the best things I've ever done, namely because I had a lot of, my mom was gorgeous. Okay. She was a model. She was in like beauty pageants and stuff. And like, she had like the model figure. And I wasn't built like that. I'm built like a weightlifter, you guys. I'm built like a power lifter. Okay. I got the hindquarters of a quarter horse over here, a draft horse. So, for me to like go and take off all of my clothes in front of a bunch of people and have people actually be like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. Like your body. That was the first time. Yeah. That was the first time I'm like, oh, people actually like different types of bodies, not just the ones. Yeah. Not just the ones that are on TV or in the magazines. And this was such an amazing, empowering, enlightening experience for me. And like, I didn't look at my body the same way. Like that completely changed. And just so you guys know, I like bigger girls. I don't know how else to say that. I'm not into like skinny girls. Like, you love who you love, but like, if I had to pick a body type, like I like them a little thicker. And so like, that was something I understood, but I just didn't recognize that like guys could be like that too, that there were all these different Like, it just opened everything up for me. And so that's why I was saying, like, if somebody's interested in doing something like that, I don't think there's anything wrong with it whatsoever. Obviously, you personally got to keep your standards and not, I mean, if you want to prostitute yourself, that's fine, but I don't think you should have to do it in like a sneaky, shady way or something, you know?
Right, to be coerced into a situation.
Yeah, like you're, you know, and then you got to give a cut to somebody else. Like, I don't think that that's good.
I will say, as if it needed to be said, I think everyone is probably familiar with the idea that some escorts and escort services are simple fronts for
Oh, absolutely. Just like the massage parlors. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. We worked, actually, Nikki, we had one of those next to that first, the psychic place. The first time I started working as a psychic, we were in like this little strip mall, and there was it was a massage parlor or a perfume parlor. I think they did both next to us, but like the windows are all blacked out, and we're like, what's going on over there?
Yeah, we have a ton of them in my town.
You know what's crazy is the cops were always there, but they weren't busting the place.
No, they don't. They don't.
So crazy. That's so strange. I can't figure it out.
There's one right next to the beauty supply store.
Oh,
and
yeah?
One day, this guy came running out of the place screaming, and he was like, "Don't touch me!"
He thought he was getting
called the cops. He called the cops because he's like, "I'm a married man. Like, I'm a married man," and she just starts like, doing this stuff to me, and he was like really genuinely upset.
Yeah, that
poor guy.
Like, I didn't know this. What he just wanted to. His back hurt, you know. For Christ's sakes, he just wanted to go.
You gotta look up the reviews before you go.
I felt so. I laughed so hard, but it wasn't until I got in my car and I realized I was driving on the road. I was like, "Wow, poor guy." Like he went home and he told his wife about this. Like he was really genuinely like upset. The city ended up not renewing their business license like shortly after that, so they got kicked out. They just set up somewhere else, I'm sure.
It really should be a consensual happy
ending.
But
this isn't like something people go to all the time and just keep quiet about. I mean, I'm sure some people have these experiences and then just don't say anything because they're too shy to be like, "Hey, no, wait, don't," you know, like, not this fella, not this guy. And it's the only story I've ever heard of that ever happening, like ever.
I've never heard a story like that. I always wondered what those massage parlors do with just the people who like want like to some shoulder relief,
just like some regular,
just an actual back rub. We have tons of those blacked out windows. Massage.
I feel like if it's a blacked out window one, expect them to get handsy.
Yeah, if I wanted the happy ending, that's where I'd go.
that's where I'd start looking. Right?
Simple math, right? Yeah. To the one with the blacked out windows that just says
we did send a woman in though, like to one of them, and they don't know what to do with you. So like it wasn't a good idea for us girls. So to find a new massage parlor, I guess. So
I mean, yeah.
All jokes aside, that was assault. So like, I feel bad.
It is.
I'm not laughing about it, but
it's frankly sexual assault.
Yeah. And this man was absolutely beside himself. Like, so I mean, we have to think about.
Speaking of sexual assault, which is why, by the way, this channel and the other channel will never get big because we talk about way too many topics that YouTube does not approve of. But
I think
that's another one in the chart.
Okay.
I don't think that you can, and I know we've talked about this before on the show. We've talked about it recently privately. I think in like a group chat or something. But I forget what the numbers are, you guys. I can look them up before the call, a few days from now. But like like either the World Health Organization or the CDC, possibly both. They say that females in particular, over 70%, I want to say it's close to like 75%, have reported. These are just the ones that are reported some form of sexual assault. That doesn't mention the ones that go unmentioned, obviously. And I don't think it takes men into consideration either. And I think they assume that men are less likely to to talk about it and tell
They
anybody.
are less likely to talk about it. I mean, we live in a society where they just, you know, make fun of you constantly, you know, and it's always like, don't be gay, whatever you do, don't be gay, whatever you do, don't be like a lady. You know, it's kind of weird, but that's the society we have. And I don't know what men go through, but a lot of people I talk to that are men have been through a lot of terrible, horrible things.
Yes, I think it's far more common than anybody would wants to admit. But this goes back to, if you're looking for, because this is something I know we've had this conversation multiple times with multiple people, but I don't know that you can find sexual trauma in a chart. I don't know that you can find childhood trauma or really any specific trauma in a chart. I mean, I'm not saying you can't find it going through it holistically and maybe seeing there might be something there, but I don't think it's the type of thing where you can say this planet here or this placement here will lead to this. Because again, I think it's just a part of, at this point, unfortunately, I hate to say this, I think it's a part of the human experience, like trauma in general, you know, and trauma, just generally speaking, you know, one person's normal day is not traumatic to another person, you know, like, we can look at stuff that we've gone through as children, and then you can look at, like, nowadays you just yell at your kid and maybe they feel traumatized and maybe that was enough. That's something that sticks with them forever. And you're like, what? I like literally just like raised my voice one time, or, you know, you broke a glass and I freaked out, was having a bad day. But so like, I think some of this stuff is, and I don't know if it'll come up on Saturday or not, which I just wanted to broach it now. How much of that is actually identifiable in a chart? And I don't know if you guys have thoughts on that.
Sometimes, some of it is. But astrology is very mysterious. And I think I just go back to that need to get data. To make statements that are based in data, we need data. We don't have data, we can't say anything. Like, but I think that it's I think that when I see, you know, the classic early wounds, formative wounds, Chiron is often this centaur, often given to that. And when I see Chiron opposite, let's say, or square, harsh, real close, minor harsh angle to malefic, shall we say. I don't like the word, but let's just lump all the planets, or let's just say even Uranus, because Uranus opposite Chiron lasted for like 70 years. And it does show. I do see it, Abby. And I see it with Chiron, not that Chiron describes everyone's early wound, but when I see Chiron opposed by Uranus, I know those parents did not pay enough emotional attention to that child. They were too aloof to that child, and that child, just struggles for it, suffers for it. When I see, like, I mean, if you see Mars, Pluto opposite a Chiron, unless Jupiter or something is like protecting, it's a good chance that that person came into contact in some way with sexual violence as a young person.
Okay, so like you just said, there was a 70-year period where that was going on. So over 70 years, every person born during that period should have that same experience.
Sort of, and they do, but the dance went around and it shifts out of orb and into orb. But over that period of time, from like the Depression, World War I, to like I was born under this influence, you just have generations that progressively weren't like, you had the don't hold your crying baby parental advice, just let them cry, right? And this was indicative of Uranus's like aloofness, or just like mental removal from a situation in opposition to this early wound. When you see people with Sun and Saturn coming down hard on a Chiron, and there's more to it than Chiron. I'm not trying to present Chiron as the answer, but I'm talking about what I've seen. When I see Sun, Saturn coming down, like square, let's say opposite. Sun conjoined Saturn opposite to Chiron. This is a person who was wounded early by authority in the world, male authority, patriarchy. Likely father was a powerful, imposing figure, and they may have. This person is in a situation where they can be wounded by that. by that power. I have seen that, and I don't think it's limited to Chiron, but I do think that there are correlates to certain. I mean, gosh, there's fourth house stuff. It's holistic and complicated, but Abby, I don't think that anything as profound as trauma in the formative years, or like adverse childhood experiences, things that really shape a person, they can't help thereafter projecting onto everything about their experience, especially what triggers that original adverse experience. I think it's holistic, and I don't think it wouldn't show in a chart, though. I don't think
Well, I
anything
agree with you.
wouldn't
I agree
show.
that it would show in the chart, but I think you'd have to approach it holistically. I don't think we could
I do
just
too.
say,
I think that's why this idea that arose out of the sex and astrology workshop, that we need to like maybe anonymize a poll, or make ourselves available for people to give us meaningful data in a safe way. And I think this is like the path forward for like half the things we've talked about today,
yeah,
half the things that have
I
come
agree.
up today. Yeah, because we're just making unfounded speculative statements.
That's
It's not
right.
even really awesome.
But
So
here's the thing: not a lot. We can't speak in absolutes when it comes to these placements, because you can have an afflicted inner planet, and you can see trauma in that, or at least something developing later. And I've seen patterns. I've seen these types of things, but I haven't. I wouldn't say I've done as many charts as the two of you. But there are patterns, there are things that you can look for. And it might just be the type of person I am. I'll just find the trauma right away. I just find it. Not everybody has trauma, though. Not everybody's working through
Most
that.
people do. Most people do.
But not everybody wants to work through it, is what I'm
Well, that's
saying.
true.
Not everybody wants. Sometimes that trauma becomes the basis of their personality, the very foundation of it. If this is what has happened to me, this is who I am. And there's a lot of illness and mental illness around how we deal with our traumas, and that's why we have such a rise in all of these issues with mental illness, and not being able to speak, and not being able to talk about it, and not even really sometimes even acknowledging that that's exactly what it was that they were going through. Some people just have messed up lives and don't even realize that their family life wasn't normal. It's just it's about perspective, and I think astrologically we can't. Oh, go ahead. Well,
so sorry. It's such
No,
profound.
you're good.
Because I totally appreciate what you're saying, but some people can even repress memories of very painful things, and
Yeah.
actually compartmentalize their psyche to a point where they are not aware that even such a thing ever happened to them. So how could they address it? Like, developmental trauma is insidious.
Yeah, exactly. So like to come out as astrologers and say, well, this is definite, and this is these placements here are just absolute. We know that these formulas change person to person. So to say that, trauma can be seen, I mean, I guess it depends on the type of astrologer you are. I tend to find it. I tend to, see something in there usually, but that's kind of what I do. I didn't even do astrology, and I've had people telling me the most traumatic things that have traumatized me as well. Like, I've been traumatized by listening to trauma.
It's true.
I'm
no,
rambling,
it's
but
true.
that's real. And I
That's why
think
it's hard. Oh, go ahead.
we're just bringing up a lot of really good points about astrology and what it can and can't do. And when we see all these other astrologers out there saying, no, this is it, and this is how you do it. Like, I get it. We all want to learn, how sex is, is seen in the birth chart. We all have, we've all had those clients that are like, is he coming back? Is he, like, we want to know. But it's so incredibly complex. It's so incredibly different for each human being. So I don't know. I love that we're not saying this is definite and this is these. They're not speaking in absolutes.
I would think that would be very dishonest and very shady if we did that.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think we should just be honest. I think a lot of people just need to be honest. It's Astrology is, it can help, and you can see these things, but it's going to be a completely different formula for everybody you meet, and how it develops, like where their lunar nodes are and where their moon is and the aspects to their moon. I mean, that's a lot. That has a lot to do with their sensitive natures or memories, how they hold things. And we could go on. I'll save it for Saturday. I'll save it for Saturday. But there's a lot there you can unpack.
Yes. Speaking of Saturday, you guys, link is in the video description. Unless you're watching this in the future, it will still be there. It just won't work.
Yeah.
But we will be there 11 a.m. Eastern to 1 p.m. It is free for everyone, so definitely check it out. And we'll probably have to wrap there, you guys. Thank you so much for our sexpert, Michael Hartigan, today, for handling everything, for taking us on this journey of knowledge and wisdom.
Stop.
And thank you, everybody, for being here today. Who did I see? We saw Trayton out there. I saw the Chels was out there. Anybody else who joined us, thank you so much. And we will be back. I believe we'll be back next week because we didn't hit the full moon today, or the new moon. So we're going to do our belated new moon special next week. So, guys, definitely check that out. If you haven't already, be sure to like, share, subscribe, stuff like that. And, again, check out the ISAA at siderealinternational.org. And I guess that's it, you guys. So see everybody next time.